Hello everybody, you're welcome back again to the Reggae Appreciation Society. Despite being among the youngest, reggae music is today undoubtedly among the most important genres of music on the planet. Among the great icons that made it a global sound, Bob Marley and the Wailers are celebrated as that sound's most powerful ambassadors and the ones who truly launched it into the global mainstream. But en route to achieving this, the Wailers had to overcome titanic challenges that included being broke despite having #1 hits in the charts, oppression from the dons of Jamaica's music business, and their brand of music being shunned by the mainstream audiences and even fellow artists. And one of their most surprising setbacks occurred in late 1973 while on tour of the US to promote their critically acclaimed album Catch a Fire as opening acts to super American funk R&B group Sly and the Family Stone. During that tour, the Wailers were unceremoniously and brutally ditched and left totally clueless as to what happened or why. And there have been many theories over the years by Wailers fans as to the true reasons, with many schools of thought who can swear that the Wailers were on fire during those shows and totally outshined Sly and the Family Stone, sparking envy that forced band leader Sly Stone to fire them. And these rumors have raged on over the past 5 decades, fueled by silence from both Sly's band and the Wailers members since then. But in recent times, the real facts of what happened have finally come to light from people who were there. So now let's take a look at why Sly and the Family Stone kicked the Wailers off their tour. The year was 1973, and the trio of Bob, Bonnie and Peter had seen their album Catch a Fire, released in April that year by Island Records to great critical acclaim. To promote the album, Island Records put a tour together which would take the band across the UK and the US. In England, the Wailers performed at 19 different shows, which held at universities and clubs. In London, they made history with a groundbreaking performance on BBC Two's Old Grey Whistle Test show that blew away an entire country and would inspire the members of eventual UK reggae legends like Steel Pulse, UB40 and Aswad. The Wailers made incredible impact in England, but were struck by a major blow when Bonnie Wailer dropped out of the band in June that year. But for the US leg, Peter and Bob would convince their former teacher Joe Higgs to replace Bonnie, and it would slot in seamlessly, just in time for the trip to America, where they kicked off with 5 concerts between 11th and 15th of July at a popular underground venue named Paul's Mall in Boston. Next up, they moved over to New York for a slew of shows as opening acts for legendary rocker Bruce Springsteen at Max Kansas City, where they electrified the venue for 5 nights in a row, playing to a mix of mostly rock fans and some New York-based Jamaicans. And for a band trying to push a new sound into the global space, their tour wasn't doing badly at all and looked like it was set to get even better. Island Records arranged for the Wailers to join legendary funk band Sly and the Family Stone for their own tour. Straight out of the Bay Area of San Francisco, Sly and the Family Stone had emerged in 1967 and literally took the world by storm, laying the foundations and blueprint for funk, soul and disco for the 1970s. They were to funk and soul what the Wailers were to reggae, and would score classic mega smash hits like Dance to the Music, Family Affair and Everyday People. As far as American music was concerned, they were among the biggest names at the time, and the Wailers were expected to gain plenty of attention as well as new fans from touring with them. And after all, they were radicals with conscious albums like the classic There's a Riot Going On, just like the Wailers with their own works like Soul Rebels. So in late September, Sly and the Family Stone will embark on a tour of the US to promote their album Fresh with the Wailers in tow as opening acts. And they will start that journey with shows in Florida that jumped off in Homestead, then Tampa, before heading over to Kentucky, then Denver, before heading south to Las Vegas for a concert at the Ice Palace skating rink. And after that show, with about 10 venues and 10 cities to go, both crews would get into their tour bus and go back to their hotel to get some rest ahead of their next stop at a venue at Robertson's Gym at the University of Santa Barbara in California that was taking place in 3 days' time. But incredibly, the next morning, Sly and the Family Stone woke up a few hours earlier than agreed, got on their tour bus and headed out to California long before the Wailers and crew had even woken up or even gotten out of bed, leaving them stranded and without any money in their pockets. Aston Barrett would reveal to his bandmates that he had noticed strange energy from Sly and his crew, but never expected it to get to the point of being left out in the cold, literally. Unlike the earlier shows in the US, where they had performed to rock audiences who are more accepting of their sound, the fans of Sly and the Family Stone were hardcore funk R&B followers who weren't so accommodating of this new novel sound called reggae. Apparently, Sly's crew had noticed that the audiences weren't connecting with the Wailers' music or even their looks and costumes that were a bit too radical for even their tastes. So the Wailers were stranded in Las Vegas with no money for hotels or even bus fare. Bob called his mother, Isadella Booker, who was then living in Delaware, about 2,000 miles away, to tell her what happened and that they were stranded. So Bob's mom would work the phone and spread the word quickly in the Jamaican community in the US, and that news would reach California in no time, where a Jamaican-born lawyer named Gus Brown rallied a couple of his pals who all drove down to Vegas and took them all back to Cali. And it was indeed Gus Brown and his pals who all went a step further by connecting them to the owner of a nightclub in San Francisco called The Matrix, and asked the owner to allow them play at his spot for 2 nights, just to help to put some money in their pockets. The owner was skeptical at first, but agreed. However, the Wailers would go on to put in a spectacular show that caused the owner to book them for 2 more nights. And the tickets to those shows sold out in record time. And the attendees of those shows were simply mesmerized and blown away, and before you knew it, word about a new sound called reggae spread like wildfire all over San Francisco, and they were booked for yet another show. Their local radio station, K-San FM, volunteered to broadcast live, with legendary K-San DJ Tom Donahue hosting the session. In that performance, the Wailers seemed determined to make a statement and put in probably their greatest performance since the kickoff of the Catch a Fire tour. And shortly after the K-San broadcast, they were ferried to Los Angeles for a closed-door performance and recording session at the Capitol Records Tower Studio in Hollywood. It was a live performance like the one that they had done at the Old Grey Whistle Test Show in London a few months earlier. In this show, they ran through 18 songs in what was simply a magnificent performance. But unlike the other show, this one didn't get aired on TV. A terrible blunder, I must say, as I'm certain it would have also won over new legions of fans in America. And after this performance, the Wailers were exhausted and returned to Jamaica after successfully completing the Catch a Fire tour. It seemed after everything that getting kicked off the Sly and Family Stone tour had been a blessing in disguise. They were forced to launch themselves out on their own and ended up winning over neutral audiences that took to their music big time. And inadvertently, they would cultivate a fan base that would only grow from there. And by the time the Wailers returned for the Burning Album tour in 1974, they would be received by their own fans. And though it took 5 more years before reggae truly took roots in America, that was indeed the beginning of reggae's takeover. As for Sly and the Family Stone, it would seem that karma would hit them where it hurts, because 1973 marked the beginning of their downfall, as their fortunes would decline, with lower commercial sales, poor critical reviews, and terrible drug abuse that ravaged that band before their eventual dissolution not long after. While Bob Marley and the Wailers, despite the loss of Peter Tosh, would go on to a legendary career as one of the greatest acts of the 20th century, and indeed of all time. Being kicked off that tour would indeed be a mere footnote on their road to immortality. So there you have it. Thank you for watching this video today. Please leave a like, subscribe, and until next time, God bless.